Greetings, my dear viewer. This is a channel about marital infidelity and about the consequences if one spouse starts to cheat on the other. If you, as well as I do, support true family values and condemn cheating, then subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Let's get started. The morning light poured into the Harris household, illuminating the familiar scene of domestic comfort. Mason Harris, a talented architect known for his precision and creativity, sat at the kitchen table, savoring the rich aroma of his morning coffee as he flipped through the pages of a newspaper. His perfectly styled hair and custom-tailored shirt reflected his attention to detail, a hallmark of his character. At the heart of the kitchen, his wife, Amanda, moved with an effortless grace that captivated anyone who watched her. Clad in a shimmering silk robe that danced in the sunlight, she embodied elegance as she prepared breakfast. After 40 years of marriage, the couple was gearing up for an unforgettable anniversary celebration set to take place that very evening. The house buzzed with excitement. Decorations were meticulously selected, and the catering team was already at the doorstep. Mason glanced up from his reading, a warm smile spreading across his face. "Can you believe it's been 40 years, Amanda?" he asked, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "Time really does fly, doesn't it?" she replied, her eyes never leaving the sizzling pancakes on the griddle, her tone carrying a hint of distraction. "Don't forget, we still have so much to do for tonight's party." For a fleeting moment, Mason sensed a distance in her voice, a whisper of something unspoken, hanging in the air between them. Lately, Amanda had become a whirlwind of distraction, her thoughts seemingly elsewhere even when she was right beside him. Mason couldn't shake the feeling that something was off with her. He chalked it up to the stress of planning their anniversary celebration. Yet, as he watched her, he felt a subtle tension, an invisible thread of anxiety pulling at him. As the morning unfolded, Mason's concerns grew. Amanda's phone rang repeatedly, each call capturing her attention with such urgency that he felt like a stranger in their own home. He tried to dismiss it, convincing himself that these calls must be related to the surprise she had hinted at for the evening. Still, the sense of doubt lingered, like a shadow. "Why are you getting so many calls? You seem really busy," he ventured, trying to keep his tone light. A forced smile flickered across Amanda's face as she put her phone away, avoiding his gaze. "I'm just finalizing some last-minute arrangements for tonight." "Don't worry about it," she replied, but her words seemed like a thin veil over something deeper. Despite the nagging suspicion gnawing at him like an insistent itch, Mason nodded. Determined to shake off the feeling, he pulled himself together and headed outside, where the garden was being transformed into a festive wonderland. A team of decorators bustled around, stringing delicate fairy lights and arranging vibrant flowers, each petal a reminder of the love that had blossomed over the years. The Blake neighbors approached to offer their well wishes. Darlene Blake, one of Amanda's closest friends, warmly embraced Mason. 40 years! You both inspire me so much," she exclaimed, her smile infectious. "I'm grateful to you, Darlene. It's been a very tough journey," Mason responded, glancing back at the house. Inside, Amanda was still on the phone, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Amanda, finishing her call, took a deep breath, her heart pounding as she glanced at the clock. Her thoughts swirled in a chaotic dance of secrets and surprises. Tonight had to be perfect. Amanda paced through the house, meticulously checking every detail of the anniversary party, yet her mind was entangled in a web of conflicting emotions. She couldn't stop thinking about the phone calls from Donald, the charismatic man she had met at a charity event a few months ago. What began as innocent flirting quickly spiraled into a passionate infatuation, leaving her caught in a whirlwind of guilt and excitement that raged within her like a storm. As the day wore on, Mason's worries grew into a deepening sense of unease. Something was wrong, but he couldn't figure out what. Seeking clarity, he decided to take a walk around the neighborhood, hoping that the familiar sights and sounds would soothe his restless mind. But today, everything seemed off, tainted by the storm brewing inside him. During his walk, he ran into Gary, an old college friend who lived just a few houses away. The friends exchanged pleasantries about family and work, but Mason's thoughts kept drifting back to Amanda. "You seem out of sorts, Mason. Is everything okay?" Gary asked, raising an eyebrow in concern as he studied his friend's distant expression. "It's just the anniversary party," Mason replied, trying to inject some cheer into his voice. There's just a lot to do. You and Amanda are the perfect couple, buddy. I'm sure the evening will be amazing, Gary assured him with a warm smile. Back home, Amanda was busy with the final preparations. She meticulously reviewed the guest list, coordinated with the caterers, and oversaw the decorators. Her heart wasn't in it, though. Instead, it was overwhelmed by memories of intimate conversations with Donald, her emotions a turbulent mix of exhilaration and dread. When Mason returned from his walk, he found Amanda in the living room, staring off into the distance. He sat down beside her and gently took her hand in his. "Amanda, are you really okay?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. Amanda met his gaze, and her heart raced. The urge to confess, to break things off with Donald and focus on their marriage, welled up inside her, but the words stubbornly stuck in her throat. "I'm just tired, Mason," she finally said, masking the storm within her with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Anticipation hung in the air as the time for the evening celebration drew near. Mason squeezed Amanda's hand, his grip firm and reassuring. "We'll handle everything together, as always," he whispered, and a warm smile broke through her nerves. The hours flew by in a whirlwind of activity. Caterers arrived, filling the house with the enticing aromas of delicacies that danced invitingly through the halls. As dusk approached, guests began to stream into the house, their laughter and lively conversations creating a vibrant symphony that echoed throughout the home. Mason and Amanda greeted everyone with open arms, effortlessly embodying the charm of perfect hosts. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, and the Harrises' home transformed into a brilliant center of joy and celebration. Mason moved through the house like a conductor leading a grand orchestra, fine-tuning every detail to perfection. He straightened floral arrangements, polished champagne glasses to a shine, and exchanged light-hearted jokes with the staff to ensure everyone felt the contagious energy of the evening. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, jolting him from his thoughts. Anticipation flickered in his mind. Could this be the first guest? Approaching the door, he mustered a welcoming smile, but as soon as he opened it, the smile faltered, freezing in place. Standing on the threshold was a towering figure, a broad, intimidating man clad in a leather jacket, a smug grin plastered across his face. The presence of this man cast a shadow over the lively atmosphere that filled the Harrises' home, and the air thickened with unspoken tension. "Can I help you?" Mason asked, his voice tinged with confusion and growing dread. The stranger's grin widened, and he leaned casually against the doorframe. "Hey, loser. Tonight I'm taking your wife on a wild adventure that'll last till morning, and there's nothing you can do to stop it." Mason's heart sank as he saw Amanda descending the stairs behind him. She was dressed in a daring outfit that left little to the imagination, her hair cascading in waves over her shoulders, and bold red lipstick made her almost unrecognizable. She met his gaze with a defiant mix of rebellion and excitement. In the tense silence, the sharp click of her heels echoed as Amanda reached the bottom step, piercing the air like a countdown. A smile played on her lips, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We're going to have so much fun tonight," she declared, a spark of mischief in her tone. "Don't wait up for me, darling." "I can't miss this tonight," she added almost gleefully. "We can celebrate later." Frozen in place, Mason felt her words crash over him like a tidal wave. Right before his eyes, his wife was walking out the door with another man on the night that was supposed to be their anniversary. The room spun, the vibrant sounds of the party preparations fading into a distant murmur. Mason stood frozen, paralyzed by disbelief as the stranger smirked darkly at his shock. "What's the matter, Mason? Didn't expect this turn of events," the man taunted, wrapping an arm around Amanda's waist and pulling her closer, sealing the betrayal with a twisted sense of satisfaction. Inside Mason, a storm of anger and humiliation raged, his heart pounding violently in his chest. He wanted to scream, to demand that they stop, but the words lodged in his throat. Nearby, Amanda leaned in and whispered something to the stranger, which made him burst into uncontrollable laughter. As Mason turned to leave, he caught the sound of carefree laughter emanating from the living room, where friends and family were enjoying the party, blissfully unaware of the turmoil brewing just outside. A wave of nausea washed over him, the sharp sting of betrayal cutting deeper than he could have ever imagined. Inside, the party throbbed with energy, a stark contrast to the whirlwind of emotions churning within him. Horace, Mason's loyal best friend, noticed the distress on Mason's face and approached him. Horace, always the towering presence, had long admired the bond between Mason and Amanda. "Hey, man, everything okay?" he asked, his brow furrowed with concern. Mason forced a smile. "Yeah, just feeling a bit overwhelmed. Amanda had to step out for a minute." Horace's gaze narrowed, unconvinced, but willing to give him space. "I'm here if you need anything," he assured him, a steady rock in the chaos. Grateful for his friend's unwavering support, Mason nodded and returned to the lively living room, where laughter and chatter filled the air. He plastered on a smile, engaging in the social pleasantries that swirled around him, but inside, his mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, spinning around the betrayal and confusion that refused to settle. Running his fingers through his hair, Mason struggled against the tears that threatened to spill. "Darlene, I don't know what to do. It feels like everything's falling apart." She sat beside him, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "We'll figure this out, Mason. You're not alone in this." As the party dragged on, the cacophony of laughter and conversation around him seemed completely detached from reality. He was forced to smile and engage in polite conversation, slipping into the role of the gracious host when necessary. But inside, he was seething with shock and betrayal. And when the last of the guests finally left and the house fell silent, Mason found himself standing alone in the dimly lit living room, surrounded by the remnants of a celebration that now felt like a cruel joke. Mason's attention was drawn to the door where Amanda had exited, hand in hand with another man. A chill ran through him, igniting a cold fire of resolve in his chest. "This isn't over," he muttered under his breath, his eyes hardening with determination. They would regret this. The calm before the storm had passed, leaving behind the promise of fury and retribution. "Do they really think they can just walk all over me?" Mason growled quietly, his mind swirling with thoughts of revenge. "I'll make them realize the colossal mistake they've made." Mason realized that to develop his plan, he needed clarity, so he headed to his study, his sanctuary, where he always found solace and inspiration. The room bore witness to his meticulous nature. It was filled with architectural models and blueprints that whispered of strategic brilliance. Sitting down in his chair, he turned on the lamp, which bathed his workspace in a warm, focused light, signaling the dawn of his new purpose. Opening his laptop, he eagerly awaited the moment when he would uncover everything about Amanda's lover. Within seconds, a name appeared: Donald Smith. This local businessman was known not only for his escapades but also for a murky reputation that hinted at shady deals hidden beneath the surface. As Mason's fingers danced across the keyboard, he delved deeper into Donald's life, uncovering vulnerabilities and secrets that painted a picture of a man far from invincible. Financial troubles, secret affairs, a reputation teetering on the edge of disaster. Donald was not the invincible figure he portrayed. With a satisfied smirk, Mason leaned back in his chair, and a sinister plan began to form in his mind. He realized that he needed allies, a network of people who could help him exact his revenge without leaving any trace. Picking up the phone, he reached out to several trusted friends, each with a unique talent for navigating the darker corners of life. He had helped these people in the past, and now it was time to call in some favors. First was Lucas, an old college buddy who had reinvented himself as a private detective. With a knack for uncovering hidden truths, Lucas was the perfect partner for this scheme. As soon as Mason laid out the situation, Lucas's response was immediate and unwavering. "Mason, I've got your back. Let me handle Donald. I'll find everything you need." Next, he contacted Matthew, a tech expert who had once bailed him out during a security breach at work. Matthew had a talent for hacking into systems and making it look like a mere coincidence. "Consider it done," Matthew replied, his voice brimming with confidence. "I'll start digging into his finances and see what skeletons come tumbling out." Finally, Mason dialed Cindy, a fierce woman with deep connections in the underworld. Known for her resourcefulness and no-nonsense approach, she could navigate the murky waters without batting an eye. Hanging up the phone, he felt a surge of power. With a team like this behind him, the wheels of vengeance were set in motion, and Donald Smith's days in the shadows were numbered. Mason was ready to turn the world upside down, and he had the right people to ensure everything went off without a hitch. Cindy had to settle accounts with Mason. Many years ago, he had pulled her out of a difficult situation, and now she was eager to repay him in kind. Leave it to me, she declared, a spark of determination igniting in her eyes. I'll take care of the more practical elements of the plan. Hours passed, and the contours of his plan began to take shape in Mason's mind. A dark excitement gripped him as he envisioned the impending downfall of Donald, the poetic justice he had long craved. He was fully aware of the risks. This was no simple matter. But the betrayal had awakened a fierce resolve within him, transforming the once mild-mannered architect into a man driven relentlessly by the thirst for revenge. Meanwhile, Amanda and her lover Donald reveled in their own world, indulging in a reckless night. In a chic club, they danced and laughed, the pulse of the music enveloping them, drowning out any thoughts of the storm brewing back home. These people were confident, unaware of the chaos lurking in the shadows. Neon lights shimmered above the crowded dance floor, creating a vibrant backdrop for their escapade. With a brazen smirk, Donald led Amanda to a secluded corner, seeking to escape the cacophony. "This is the best night of my life," he grinned, a mischievous gleam in his eyes. "Your husband must be losing his mind right now." A smile played on Amanda's lips. "He'll get over it. Honestly, he needs a wake-up call. He's been so complacent for years." His expression was a blend of desire and cunning, and Donald tightened his grip around her waist. "Well, now you're with me. Let's make this night unforgettable." As the first rays of dawn penetrated the room, illuminating Mason's determined expression, his plan was fully formed, ready to bring about the reckoning that would change everything. Armed with an abundance of information and unwavering support from his loyal allies, Mason felt a surge of electric tension course through him. He took a deep breath, bracing himself for the storm that was about to break. The moment that would turn everything upside down had arrived. The calm before the chaos had vanished, and now the storm was approaching. Mason was ready to unleash his fury, and nothing could stop him from exacting his revenge. Meanwhile, Donald and Amanda were enjoying a carefree ride back to his place, their car filled with laughter and playful whispers. The atmosphere was light, a stark contrast to what awaited them. But as they pulled into Donald's driveway, their carefree mood was abruptly shattered. There, illuminated by the relentless glare of the outdoor lights, stood Mason, eerily calm, with sinister sparks dancing in his eyes. "Hello, Donald. Amanda, did you have a good time?" His voice was steady, yet laced with a disquieting calm. Clenching his jaw, Donald tried to conceal the creeping anxiety in his soul. "What happened, Mason?" he muttered in response, forcing himself to smirk, realizing that the game had just taken a dark turn. "Can't you handle a little competition?" Mason's smile flashed, but there was a sharpness in his tone, hinting at danger. "Oh, I'm more than capable. In fact, I think it's time you learned a lesson." Donald barely had time to comprehend the threat before Mason signaled to his companions, who emerged from the shadows like phantoms conjured from a dark fairy tale. Lucas, Matthew, and Cindy moved with an eerie synchronization, overpowering Donald with a fluidity that spoke of countless rehearsals. Donald was tightly bound, and his futile struggles only emphasized their strength. Amanda watched in horror as her world began to crumble. She could never have imagined such a turn of events. A nightmare was unfolding before her eyes. "Mason, what are you doing?" She stepped forward, her voice trembling as panic tightened its grip on her throat. "Leave him alone!" Turning to face her, Mason felt a disturbing calm. "You wanted thrills, didn't you? Well, here's your chance." Close by, Lucas, calm and collected, scanned the surroundings with the precision of a seasoned investigator, always on alert for the slightest hint of trouble. Meanwhile, Matthew, the tech genius, stood by the car, his laptop glowing on the hood, fingers dancing over the keys as he monitored the hacked surveillance cameras to ensure they remained unnoticed. The towering Cindy stood like an unyielding sentinel, her fierce gaze daring anyone to challenge her. Donald's voice surged with renewed intensity, a mix of anger and fear, as he grasped the full extent of his predicament. The night was turning into a chilling game of dominance, with stakes higher than anyone had anticipated. "Do you really think you can escape this?" Mason hissed, leaning in with menacing force. "This is just the beginning, Donald. Do you think you can bring me down? Be prepared to experience unparalleled humiliation?" Amanda froze in place, a chilling realization dawning on her. She had completely underestimated Mason's determination and thirst for revenge. The excitement she had once felt had turned into a latent fear as she discovered a dark side of her husband that she never knew existed. "Mason, please!" she cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You're not the man you are right now. You don't have to do this." For a painful moment, their eyes met, and she saw the man she once adored: warmth, love, connection. But then that glimmer faded, replaced by a soul-chilling resolve. "Amanda, you've made your choice. Now it's my turn." With those words, Donald was forcefully dragged into the house. The once welcoming home now felt like a sinister trap closing in around them. He was brought to the basement, a place Mason had turned into a chilling arena of retribution. Cold, unforgiving concrete walls loomed over them, and the dim lighting cast eerie shadows that danced in the air like ghosts. Mason's friends secured Donald to a chair in the center of the room, their faces set in grim determination. Lucas set up a camera, its red light blinking ominously, recording everything that transpired. A cold smile spread across Mason's face, hinting at the darkness within. His gaze settled on Amanda, who stood frozen on the top step of the staircase, her face etched with horror. "You wanted to wake me up, didn't you?" he said softly, a mocking tone in his voice. "Well, it seems I'm already awake. Now you'll find out what betrayal truly costs." Donald, once defiant, felt despair wash over him like a cold wave. "Mason, you'll pay for this!" he shouted, but his words were muffled by the gag silencing his protests. Yet Mason only sneered, his eyes gleaming with malice. "Unlikely, Donald. But you? Oh, you certainly will." With calculated precision, Mason began laying out his sinister plan. He spoke of how he would expose Donald's illegal dealings and ruin his reputation. Each detail was delivered with chilling calmness, as he recounted the evidence Matthew had meticulously gathered, financial documents that would expose Donald as an embezzler and a fraud. Mason's voice held an almost clinical detachment, each word a dagger aimed at Donald's heart, painting a vivid picture of the downfall that he had so carefully orchestrated. Amanda was horrified with every syllable, the weight of Mason's vengeance sinking into her like lead. She realized that this ruthless man would stop at nothing, leaving her lover in ruins and herself to pick up the shattered pieces of her broken existence. The grim reality that descended around them shattered Donald's bravado, and his body slumped in the chair. His eyes widened in terror, reflecting the panic that clawed at his insides. In the shadows, Amanda stood, tears cascading down her cheeks, terror gripping her chest. The nightmare they had feared was only just beginning. Mason stepped back, a satisfied smirk playing on his lips as he sensed the fear emanating from them. "Welcome to your new reality," he muttered in an icy whisper, turning away. "This is just the beginning." It was a carefully orchestrated trap, and escape was nothing but an illusion. The air in the Harris house was thick with tension. What was once a cozy living room now resembled a sinister chamber of horrors. Dim lighting cast grotesque shadows on the walls, heightening the sense of impending doom. Donald, bound to the chair, struggled against his restraints, his face etched with desperation, while Amanda stood frozen nearby, ensnared in a web of fear and regret. The stench of sweat and terror filled every corner of the room. Donald's face twisted in a mix of rage and panic. "You're insane! Let me go!" he screamed, his voice ricocheting off the walls like a desperate plea. Mason remained unmoved, a chilling calm enveloping him. "No, this is just the beginning," he replied in an icy, emotionless tone. "You see, Donald, no one humiliates me and walks away unscathed." Mason's plan was as meticulously calculated as it was ruthless. Hours had been spent meticulously gathering evidence that would seal Donald's fate. Together with Matthew, the tech wizard, he had delved into Donald's financial records, uncovering a web of fraudulent transactions and dubious deals. "Did you really think you could hide this?" Mason sneered, waving a stack of documents like trophies, each page a testament to Donald's treachery. Donald's heart pounded as the enormity of Mason's intentions dawned on him. A chill ran down his spine. "You can't do this," he stammered, his voice trembling with disbelief. But Mason's smile was as cold as ice. "Oh, but I can, and I will." With a snap of his fingers, Mason grabbed the phone and began dialing, each call a calculated move in his plan. The first target? Donald's employer. With unshakable calm, he laid out the embezzlement charges, watching with grim satisfaction as shock and outrage erupted on the other end of the line. Promises of swift action followed, and Donald's fate was sealed. Next on Mason's list was a call to Donald's family. He revealed the full extent of Donald's betrayal, each word like a hammer driving the final nails into the coffin of Donald's trust and respect. Amanda, caught in the whirlwind of betrayal, could only watch in horror as her partner's life unraveled before her eyes. Guilt and dread twisted her insides. She had never imagined that her choices could lead to such devastation. "Mason, please! This has gone too far!" she cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. But Mason turned to her, his expression as cold as a winter's night. "Too far? Amanda, this is justice. Your future chose him over us. Now you will see the truth about who he really is." In the midst of this storm, Lucas, a private detective, observed the events unfolding from the next room, ensuring that the chaos remained undisturbed. Knowing Mason for many years, he was astonished by the transformation occurring before his eyes. He admired Mason's fierce determination, yet trembled at the possible consequences. Meanwhile, Matthew darted around his laptop like a whirlwind. He was sending a barrage of emails and messages, making sure every sordid detail about Donald reached the right hands. He was the silent architect of Mason's revenge, each keystroke a step towards destruction. Cindy stood at the front door like a vigilant sentinel, scanning for any signs of interference. The atmosphere was thick with tension. Every piece of their plan was falling into place, each moment bringing them closer to the inevitable confrontation that would change everything. She was a force to be reckoned with, a fierce guardian of loyalty, and her dedication to Mason ran deep. Beneath her calm exterior lay a burning desire to see Donald pay for his wrongdoings, a desire she carefully concealed. As the tension mounted, Donald's bravado began to falter. "You're going to ruin my life," he muttered, his voice trembling like a fragile leaf in the wind. But Mason stood firm, his eyes piercing the darkness as they stared at Donald with an intensity that cut through. "That's the plan," he replied coldly. "Donald, you took everything from me. Now it's my turn to reclaim what's rightfully mine." As the first light of dawn crept in, Mason felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He approached Donald, who now sat silently, the fight visibly drained from him. "I hope your little game was worth it," Mason taunted, a smirk playing on his lips, "because now it's time to settle the score." He left Donald bound and vulnerable, ensuring that the authorities would find him in a state of complete disgrace. An anonymous tip had already been sent to the police, packed with evidence that would lead to Donald's downfall. It would be a total and humiliating exposure, a public spectacle that left no room for redemption. Watching the scene unfold from the sidelines, Amanda's heart filled with despair as she witnessed what was happening. "Mason, please," she pleaded, her voice barely escaping her lips, her face a reflection of fear and helplessness. But Mason was resolute, ignoring her cries, consumed by the satisfaction of his impending victory. "I never wanted any of this," she cried, her voice trembling with desperation. Mason's gaze remained unyielding, his expression cold as steel. "You made your bed, Amanda," he replied with a chilling finality in his voice, "and now you have to lie in it." As the first rays of dawn crept through the windows, Jeffrey gathered his friends around him. "It's done," he declared, and the weight of his decision hung in the air. The friends exchanged solemn nods, silently acknowledging that their roles in this turbulent story had come to an end. With one last glance at Donald and Amanda, Jeffrey stepped out into the morning, and his friends followed. In the distance, the wail of police sirens pierced the silence, marking the end of one chapter and the ominous beginning of another. Jeffrey felt a strange sense of satisfaction. He had taken control of the situation, and the humiliation he once endured would no longer haunt him. The reckoning of the night had come to an end, but its echoes lingered. As chaos descended on the town with the arrival of law enforcement, Jeffrey walked away, his heart hardened by betrayal and a thirst for revenge. In the weeks that followed, the aftermath of that fateful night rippled through their lives like a dark tide. Donald spiraled downward, his career and personal life crumbling to dust. Banished from her home, Amanda, full of regret, tried to cope with the remnants of her shattered world. The Harris house, once a sanctuary of warmth and memories, now stood as a ghostly reminder of a life that had slipped through her fingers. Jeffrey wandered through the rooms with a chilling detachment, and the whispers of the past echoed in his ears. His loyal friends visited regularly, offering companionship and a semblance of support, but nothing could fill the void left by the chaos that had erupted. Donald slumped in his cramped, dimly lit apartment, the walls stripped of any character, mirroring the emptiness that now defined his life. He once proudly wore sharp suits, but now they hung on him like relics of a bygone era, rumpled and stained, reflecting his broken spirit. The phone rang incessantly, each call a cruel reminder of the chaos that had engulfed him. He raised the receiver to his ear with a trembling hand, his heart pounding with the terror that gripped him. "Hello," he croaked in a barely audible whisper. "This is Darlene from your former job," came the cold, clipped response, cutting through the air. "We have evidence of your financial misconduct. You're fired, effective immediately. Expect a lawsuit for damages." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. Donald's hand shook as he slammed the receiver down, the sound reverberating in the silence. He buried his face in his hands, overwhelmed by the weight of his crumbling life. Friends had vanished, fading into the shadows, and even his family hesitated to reach out, leaving him in the abyss of isolation. Amanda, once a dazzling star of a glamorous life, meanwhile, faced a harsh new reality. The society that once celebrated her had now turned its back, and whispers of betrayal trailed her like a dark cloud. Desperate attempts to reclaim her social standing met with icy stares and judgmental whispers. One day she found herself in a small, quaint cafe, the aroma of coffee mingling with her despair, and she buried her face in her hands, feeling the crushing weight of loneliness close in around her. The barista, with kind, empathetic eyes, approached Amanda, holding a steaming cup of coffee. "Here you go," she said softly, gently placing the warm cup in front of her. "It's on the house. I thought you could use a little pick-me-up." Lifting her head, Amanda looked at the world with red-rimmed eyes that reflected her exhaustion. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely louder than a murmur. I don't know where to start." The barista offered an encouraging smile and leaned in slightly. "Sometimes it's best to start with the small things. Just take it one step at a time." Feeling a spark of gratitude in her heart, Amanda nodded. She took a deep breath, savoring the rich aroma of the coffee, then took a tentative sip. The warm drink brought her a moment of comfort amidst the storm raging in her life. Meanwhile, in the noisy chaos of his office, Mason was lost in a sea of paperwork when his friend Mike stopped by. He was surrounded by the rhythmic tapping of keyboards and the muted hum of conversations, a stark contrast to the turmoil in his personal life. Mike casually leaned against the doorframe, concern etched on his face. "Hey, Mason, how are you holding up?" he asked, genuine worry in his voice. Mason looked up from his cluttered desk and gave a faint smile, though it didn't reach his eyes. "I'll be okay," he replied, his tone firmer than he felt. "It's time to move forward." Mike stepped into the room, his presence calming. "I know it's been tough. Just remember, I'm here for you, whatever you need." Mason appreciated the gesture, though a heaviness still weighed on his heart. "Thanks, Mike," he said quietly, knowing that even a small kindness could make a world of difference. It meant everything to him. Mason embraced new opportunities with open arms, finding solace in his work and the unwavering support of his friends. Channeling his energy into his career, he plunged into ambitious projects that reignited the fire of his passion. Work became not just a distraction, but a path to personal growth and redemption. One evening, he found himself at a bustling networking event, surrounded by industry professionals and ambitious entrepreneurs brimming with ideas and energy. Navigating the crowd, Mason transformed from someone once broken by betrayal into a beacon of strength and determination. Amid the lively exchange of ideas, a colleague approached him, admiration shining in their eyes. "Mason, I've heard about your recent projects. They're incredible. How did you manage to turn things around so quickly?" Mason's face broke into a confident smile. "Sometimes, you have to go through the depths of hell to find yourself," he replied, his voice steady and assured. "I've learned to focus on what truly matters." Mason's words resonated with those around him, and in that moment, he began to rebuild not just his reputation, but his entire professional life. Later on, He became a mentor to young architects, sharing his wisdom and knowledge to help them navigate their own challenges. Sitting in his office afterward, he reflected on those turbulent months that had shaped him. The space around him seamlessly blended professional organization with personal comfort, standing as a true testament to his journey of recovery. Just then, the phone rang, and as Mason picked up the receiver, his voice carried a new strength and determination. "Hello?" The familiar voice on the other end sparked a surge of nostalgia in Mason. It was none other than his old mentor, Professor Wilson, the guiding light who had silently observed Mason's remarkable transformation. "Mason, I just want to say I'm impressed with your progress. Your life has truly turned around." Leaning back in his chair, Mason felt a wave of pride wash over him as he absorbed the professor's words. "Thank you, Professor. This journey hasn't been easy, but I've learned a lot about myself." Meanwhile, Amanda was on her own path of self-discovery. She sought out therapists and attended support groups, desperately trying to piece together her shattered self-esteem. One evening, she found herself in a cozy room filled with strangers, each grappling with their own issues. It was a support group meeting, and the atmosphere was charged with empathy. The therapist, a calming presence amid the chaos, addressed the group in a gentle tone. "It's crucial to understand your feelings and take responsibility for your actions. Healing begins with understanding and forgiveness." Amanda's heart raced as she prepared to share her story. "I've made so many mistakes," she confessed, her voice trembling. "I'm trying to find my way out, but it all seems so overwhelming." Then a fellow group member spoke, their soft smile radiating warmth. "We all stumble, Amanda. What truly matters is what you decide to do next. Take it one step at a time." These words hung in the air, offering hope, and Amanda felt a spark of determination ignite within her. It was a reminder that every journey, no matter how difficult, begins with a single step. As Amanda left the meeting, a glimmer of hope ignited within her. She realized that the path to rebuilding her life would neither be quick nor easy, but she felt that she had to begin this journey. Days turned into weeks, and as Mason and Amanda walked their separate paths, their lives began to unfold in intriguing ways. Mason found satisfaction in career growth and personal development, while Amanda, albeit slowly and with great effort, started to piece her life back together. Mason, sitting at his desk, couldn't shake the memories of the turbulent months that had passed. The sense of betrayal still lingered in the back of his mind, but it no longer held him in its grip. He gazed out the window, mesmerized by how the city transformed under the warm rays of the setting sun, painting the skyline in golden and crimson hues. "Sometimes you have to walk through fire to rediscover who you truly are," he reflected, feeling a quiet strength rise within him. "This journey can forge a resilience in you that you never knew existed." With a renewed sense of determination, Mason prepared to face whatever the future might hold. He felt invigorated and ready to embrace the new chapters of his life that were yet to be written. Amanda could hardly believe that she had single-handedly destroyed 40 years of marriage, unraveling much of her life, all for an affair with someone who was nothing compared to her husband. Now, she had neither a husband, nor a lover, nor friends, nor wealth. She was left utterly empty and alone. My friend, and this is the end of the story. If you liked this story, then put your royal like and subscribe to the channel. May the force be with you.